All right. Hello, everyone. You are listening to the Minding Mind podcast, where we live life with ease, connection, and permission to just be. I'm your host, Evelyn LeVasseur, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I am sitting down with Tricia Daniel, who I have known for years, but not really known the way that I got to know recently. She is a wealth of knowledge and makes you feel immediately comfortable. So I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. Today, we're going to get into talking about what is enough. And first, let me tell you a little bit about Tricia. So Tricia is a wealth advocate, keynote speaker, and certified financial education instructor who helps women rebuild their overall wealth after starting over from life's challenges. Tricia combines almost 3 decades of professional accounting and finance experience with her own personal wealth rebuilding journey to equip others with faith-driven strategies to thrive again without shame, sow seeds of security, and generate lasting joy in knowing that they are and have enough. I love every single word, Tricia, so much because the enough, just the word enough, I feel like it is just such a big deal in the sense that so many of us live our entire lives feeling like we're not enough and we'll never be enough.
I completely agree. It's never enough. I'm not enough. And we just kind of grew up with those conversations and those, just the weight that's on our shoulders and our chest from it's never going to be enough. And it just takes us down a deep, dark hole. And so I am just passionate about bringing it back out and just we constantly feel that joy. I mean, your heart is just full and overflowing with the enough in each and every day that we were given.
How do you, I guess we're getting right into it, right? Let's just hop in there because you started it, right?
Yeah.
How do you help women see that, or how do you help them see how to go from feeling that I'm not enough, I will never be enough, to actually being able to embody abundance and embody joy on a regular basis? Like, I think a lot of people hear joy and they think of that as like an ideal, or they think of that as something you see on the movies, and they think of it as just not realistic.
No, I used to always imagine, because my mother would always use that word joy and things like that. And I always just imagine it as fluffy. I mean, it's a fluffy term. All right. Okay, Mom. Great. Sounds perfect. Everything's not sunshine and rainbows. You don't understand. And then until I realized that she did understand and finding that joy in those little moments or got her through that I didn't see that she was battling. I had no idea what she was battling because I saw her smile. I saw her dance until I didn't. And when the dancing stopped, the smile stopped, the joy stopped. It's because she wasn't finding that pieces of enough in every single day. And I didn't realize, you don't realize a lot of things till you go through all of life's turns and challenges. And you realize, wait a second, what were those tools that she was using? Because I remember her smiling. I remember her dancing. And then I remember when it stopped. And right now I feel like I've stopped. I'm stopping in all of life's changes, whether it's after, divorce, or whether it's after sudden illness or injuries or stuff like that. And life's just, deep in debt, all these things that mount up on us. And we feel like it's never going to be enough. I'm not going to be enough. I can never get us out. And we're going down that deep, dark rabbit hole. But then finding the joy in every single day and that happiness in every single morning, you're like, wait, I am enough. I am enough for just today. And you get through that day and the next day. And so for me, that's been the breakthrough and all the breaking that I've been through, because now I find that joy in every single day, no matter what curveballs are thrown at me.
How do you bridge that gap, like with helping someone feel that joy, helping them look at the things they have to be grateful for every day, right? The parts of themselves that they should be grateful for, and recognizing that there's a very real reality out there where money's essential. Going to work is essential for, a lot of people don't have the luxury of for example, working from home, I recognize this is a privilege that not a lot of people get to experience, right? So I am grateful for that, but also I have to do the things. So how do you bridge the gap between I want to feel joy and I need cash?
Yeah, that is a huge question. And right now I can use kind of like my story, that I've been going through recently. 1 month after a blended family wedding, I was recently remarried after 15 years of divorce, blending a family of 6 boys. After 6 sisters, I prayed for boys and I got a little bit more than I asked for, but blended a family of 6 boys. And just 1 month after our wedding, my husband injures his spine, loses his job. And for the last 31 months, we've been walking through finances stretched. My income as a single mother with 2 boys got stretched to this huge family of 8, mounting medical bills, all the things. And so I've gone through this breaking just recently of all of a sudden, like when you just feel like you're not enough, where's the cash going to come from? I'm overwhelmed. And I'm, again, like you said at the very beginning, over 3 decades of financial experience. We can still go through all the things. We can still go through that weight of how am I going to make this stretch? What are we going to do? And because we always talk about, was looking at recently, we always talk about retirement, but we don't talk about today. We talk about someday, but we're not focused on today. And then all of a sudden life happens and you're shifting and then cash just stretching. And what am I going to do? So for me in bridging that gap, it has been seeing, because I started to see it wasn't just about, okay, I've got the medical debt people calling, or I've got this calling and this weight and it's too much. I started seeing the just enough in every single day, where God provided not just financially, but all of a sudden a gift from someone. There was food that was delivered, somebody else helping drive. I started finding the financial gifts that were not just cash, where there were resources. My husband, when he had his 6th spinal surgery back in April of 24, and I was driving away, getting ready to get some food while he was in the midst of surgery. And all of a sudden I get an Apple Pay notice from someone I didn't even know. It was a friend of a friend. Someone gave out my Apple, but it was a gift. And I was like, wow, God, you're so good. I was just asking for this specific amount so that I could pay for some of these needs that we're going to have afterwards for the recovery needs. And I started being able to see the just enough that God kept providing. And now because of those, and start seeing the, oh my gosh, we don't have that $10 that we're going to need. We don't have that $1,000. We don't have that $100,000. I started to see differently these little bitty just enough that I got through the day. Tomorrow, the just enough I got through. The just enough. And I started seeing his provision and what he was providing in a more powerful way. So for me, that's how I've started bridging this gap and discovering of I'm not who the circumstances is trying to define me to be. I remember who I was created to be. That seed within me that was meant to multiply. That original gift that God gave us in Genesis 1:29. I had this seed that's meant to multiply and produce resources for other people. So it gets me back to that original person who was, and I stopped being weighted down by all the things and knowing that I could do all things.
I feel like it's such a difficult topic to really pull together because, from my aspect and the work that I do and working with women to help them see themselves for who they are, right? Not who the world told them to be, but along with those stories of I'm not enough, along with those stories of I have to earn love or I have to prove I am worthy of being loved, right? There's also stories about money that aren't really that loud, right? They're more subtle, that money is the root of all evil. Money, money is for other people. To be in struggle is a sign of being humble. It's just all these little stories that we carry that we don't even know we carry that keep us struggling, right? And it makes us continue to make choices that bring us back to where we don't want to be. financially. So I feel like for women, and those stories are across genders, like everyone has a money story, whether they realize it or not.
Oh yeah.
But right. But for women, I feel like we've also been taught this story of dependence, this story of not wanting too much for ourselves, the story of just desiring to be with a provider in a sense
Mhm.
that
Yep.
keeps us from thinking that we could ever be just that.
Oh yeah. And it makes you, again, like you feel like you're not enough
Mhm.
because you have to have that person beside you. You have to have that corporate title. You have to have that degree. You're never going to be enough unless you have these things.
Mhm.
I completely grew up the same way. I grew up with a financial planner father, grandfather is a financial advisor. So I grew up in this realm of you have to have, however, we want you to have this degree. You've got to follow this career, but it's not going to matter because you're going to have someone by your side that can provide for you. No matter
Mhm.
what you do, no matter how many degrees are on your wall, it's not going to be enough because a person beside you, is going to provide all of that. And that's your identity. So I completely relate to no matter what I did growing up, it wasn't going to be enough unless I had all these things and that person by my side. I mean, I was always taught you're going to college not just for the degree, it's to get your Mrs. degree, it's to go meet somebody because they're the person that's going to provide.
Mhm.
But gratefully also, because my dad did me had to stand on my own 2 feet in case something happened. In case something happened, this is your identity, but in case something happens, here's some tools to learn about money so that you can stand on your own 2 feet until you find somebody else.
Mhm.
So I completely relate to, as again, I was grateful. I had all those tools. So every time life threw me a curveball, even like now, I have the tools to get back on my own 2 feet. But discovering your worth is so key. Knowing that you are enough without the degree, without the corporate title, without the money in the bank, you are still who you were created to be. You are still worthy of so much. Those old money stories,
Mhm.
the old money trauma or shame of maybe the story you're going through right now, whether it's deep in debt, whether it's from something that, where you have maybe to make you feel more worthy. You go shop. You go shop. I used to have a shoe closet way too full of shoes because after my divorce, it made me feel pretty. It made me feel worthy.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm going to be worthy of somebody else's love right now if I make myself look this way or feel this way. I had to go through a lot of healing to understand I'm still worthy.
Mhm.
I'm still worthy. And I feel like it's such a key to know that without those things, you still are that seed, that
Mhm.
gift, and you still have so much to give. And a number on a piece of paper, a degree on the wall is not how you're defined.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of us kind of got that messaging, not only from our family, but even from silly things like watching a Disney movie, right? Like you sit down and the prince is going to come rescue you, and you are going to be so like financially stable and complete for the rest of your life, right? Like that. I can't stand that Jerry Maguire line when he walks in the room and he's all like emotional and he's like, "You complete me." And I'm always looking, I'm like, that's such a crock of shit. Like Jerry Maguire, this is a great movie, I understand. But also, like, I complete me, you
Right.
complement me, right? I am whole, you're a nice addition.
Right.
And that's not something that I always knew. Like, I did have it in my head for a long time that when I checked all the boxes,
Yeah.
the career, the degree, the home, the car, the
Mhm.
children, the spouse, then I would feel what I wanted to feel.
Right.
And even though I checked all the boxes, right, there was still a part of me saying, like, why do I feel like something's missing?
Yeah. Because there's always another box to check.
Yeah.
I mean, the boxes don't stop.
Mhm.
I mean, if you keep going down the box rabbit hole,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop
Mhm.
because it's already within you. It's not in some outside box to check. It's within who you are.
Yeah.
Because I recently listened to Reese Witherspoon put out a video of never accepting like a role, because if you look back in history, it's always the girl going, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
In real life, we all know exactly. I mean, we all get after it. We all can save ourselves. We all can do it. We don't have to wait to, what am I going to do? And wait for that somebody, the Disney movie, this knight in shining armor to come rescue us.
Mhm.
We all have it within us to rescue ourselves if we will allow ourselves to do it.
Yeah. Now, what do you advise, or what would you say to the woman who is doing the work to understand who she is and recognize, like, her value and her worthiness and who she is, but she doesn't have any tools or strategy in her tool belt, right? She has no idea where to start for any type of financial planning or any type of independence. Like, how do you start guiding her?
My biggest thing is going back to like your first money memories. So I think that's always key. They always, in a lot of psychology and in therapy and counseling, they do a lot of inner child work. And one of the key things in rediscovering who you are after something bad has happened, life has changed. You're in that self-discovery of, oh my gosh, I don't even know who I am anymore. Going back and getting in touch with that little girl before the age of 7, who was she? Going and finding that picture. If you were able to find a picture of yourself before the age of 7, go back and find a picture. And they always recommend to kind of put it up somewhere and look at her. And for the part of money, how did she feel about money? Was she excited about it? Was she like wanting to go do a lemonade stand? Did she get excited when she got a $20 bill? How did she manage it? What did she think about it? But then also going back to, what's your first money memory? Did you watch your parents fight about money?
Mm-hmm.
Was it even talked about? Was it something that flowed freely? So when you're getting back to know who you are around money, why do I compulsive shop? Why do I go through Target and I feel this awful feeling in my stomach when I check out? Why do I have these feelings now? Why do I do these things now? A lot of it is linked back to those early money memories of shame, of your parents fighting, not wanting to talk about it, and be able to identify those things and then start using those to help you start to heal and understand and get back to that original, wait, I am worthy to do this. I can manage it more effectively. I can talk about it and it not hurt or not make me want to cry, or it makes me smile. And that's okay. I don't have to feel ashamed about smiling about money or bringing in revenue for my family and being the maid breadwinner or being successful or breaking that generational, curse or thing that's holding back every other woman in my family. And I'm about to break it because I know who I am. And that memory or that thing is not going to hold me back from it. So I think it's key to get back in touch with that little girl, because I love when therapists walk people through that, but then applying it to the money principle of, wait, I can be good with money. I can manage it effectively. And I think that's a key thing before you do any of the education, all the financial literacy, because there's so many amazing tools just for women out there, but the mindset is key. Because it doesn't matter if you make $100,000. If you don't have the mindset, it's going to fly right through your fingers and right out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that just the word wealth in itself feels, and I'll say for myself, a while ago, a long time ago, but it felt like wealth was a dream, but never something that I saw as achievable, nothing that I saw for me. And even I do remember in my family asking about money. It was like, we don't talk about money, right? You certainly never ask somebody about money, right? You never do that. Or, when I used to be a public school teacher, and I remember being so offended that our salaries were posted because I thought that was universally understood to be disrespectful. And it's like, it wasn't disrespectful. We all get hired at a specific amount of money based on your education, and that was it. But thought it was something disrespectful.
And we carry that with us, especially too generational. If you definitely look at generations, it was completely disrespectful. It was completely something, it was your private business. We do not discuss our private business. But then now we're walking into these generations that post it everywhere on social media for people to see. But then also they post the money that's coming in and these big numbers because that's accepted. You know, these big, they're accepted. It's not, and it's still of the managing it part, holding it. What am I going to do with this? I've got this amount that just came in. What am I going to do with it? That part, it's still shameful. It's still hard. It still hurts. But yeah, we were taught and we have these memories. And as you start to think back and you dig deeper, relationships that you're in, where the other partner is, we don't talk about this. I got it all. I'm handling it all. And don't you question me. Here is your allotment. That's it. Don't ask me for anything more. And a lot of people, women are held in that, almost kind of like captive. They're held captive of someone else is managing it. Someone else is still dictating it. And if you ever break free from that, you still feel like a captive. You still don't know what to do because you were told that you're worth. You don't know how to manage it. You're never going to be good with it. And we carry that in our worth. So I feel like it is important to break free of whatever where that trauma started, you know, going back to your childhood and then kind of walk through your teen years, your 20s, relationships, and find the root of that. And that's where I kind of applied to a tree. So you could uproot your tree, uproot your flower and plant it in new soil. Give your roots new surroundings, new community of women, new voices to listen through podcasts, through YouTubes. Replant yourself into new soil. And that's why I was just like, what's surrounding you? What's in that soil? How is it rich? Because wealth is, you know, more than money. It's everything. And it took me a long time to come with that too, since I was raised by a financial planner and grandfather. Money led everything, but money's there to support you, not to lead you.
Love that shift in perspective because I just keep hearing the phrase, money is not everything. It's just a tool, right? Money's just a tool. And okay, the reality is that in the world that we live in, we need money to survive. At the basic level, you need money to survive. And money really helps a lot when you're getting to the point of thriving, right? But when I think about money now, I just think about it as energy, right? And receiving. And I put money out into the world and I fully expect money to come back to me. And it literally is just a tool to help continue to build the life that I love, right? But I didn't always have that. It was more of I need to make X amount of money. I need to save X amount of dollars, and anything extra, I need to just hold on to it. I have to hold on to it so I don't blow it.
Because that mindset of lack, I have to hold on to it. It's going to go. And so many of us were raised with it's that lack. If I don't hold on to it, but money was meant to be a resource. And as we know, if we think of resources, just like rain, I mean, the rain falls down and it goes into the river, it evaporates, go back up to the cloud, and it's a cycle. It's cyclical. It looks like a circle. And so when you're thinking about your money, especially back into that word enough, you know, how much is enough? How much is enough to provide my basic needs? How much is enough? And when you start to draw it out like a circle, you know, if you're a creative and you're visual, get out your colored pencils and some crayons and be able to see your money in a different way, not just a spreadsheet or on your phone or online banking. See it in a different light. See it as a color. You know, what's the texture of it? But how much is enough? It's a cycle. It's a cycle that keeps flowing. Money is a resource that flows through you to other resources, and then it will come back. And the more that you invest and allow it to grow and reinvest, it comes back. And so I love to be able to draw things out in circles, in triangles. I love teaching by Maslow's hierarchy of need. If you're familiar, the bottom part is your basic needs, and you're working your way up into the self-actualization, the things, your goals, your desires, your dreams. So it's hard because again, we think of it as lack. I've got to hold on to it, but if we don't let it go, it can't be a resource to others, and it can't get back into that flow, and it can't cycle. So we kind of got to let the dam of the water kind of let it break it through and let it do and use the power of it coming down a waterfall and flowing through. So if it helps you to visually look at money, My oldest son is autistic. And before he could talk, we would talk in shapes and pictures. So I would show him pictures to be able to show him where we're going, what we're doing. And now when he comes back to me at 20, and even just last night, he speaks in pictures. So with money, he also speaks in pictures. He's like, Mom, money's like a pizza. You can't eat the whole thing at once. You eat it one slice at a time. So for you, when you're looking at your money, start to visualize it as a tree, as a plant, as a flower, something beautiful, but as a resource that has a purpose and it keeps cycling through.
I love that. I also love the idea of when you were saying that you have to just let it go, right? It's also that idea that in order to receive, you have to first release, right? Like if your hand is in a fist and you're holding on to everything so tight, you're not open to anything new, right? You're shut down.
You're shut down, and those feelings of enough keep creeping back. They keep creeping back because it does go back to that piece. If I'm holding on to it, again, it's never going to be enough. It's never, oh, I need to hold on to more. I've got to hold on to more. But when you release it and you realize you're still happy, it'll come back. I'm still happy. Okay, I got through today. Realize I'm still happy. I got through today. You know, because again, it's like that feeling when you give something to somebody and you give them a resource, you give them and you feel happy. That's contentment. That's enough.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just really kind of redefining of I'm not enough. You know, yeah, I am. And speaking that life over you.
What does it look like for someone to work with you? I know that women often reach out. We're talking about women who are going through massive life changes, which you know that is unavoidable, right? Things are going to change for us. Disasters happen. What does it look like what is it that she is looking for and how do you help her?
The biggest thing she is looking for is to find herself again, but especially feeling that more confidence about money. Confidence is something that you get hit with and you don't feel confident, especially too when you were never taught about how money works. So I think key is one, like we talked about earlier, is them finding themselves again. So they first come to work with me. It is finding who they are again, but then learning those basic tools of how money works and following their dreams, how they want to expand again, what soil we would be replanted in, and then what's guiding them, but then also having a network of women around them that'll support them, you know, because as we talked about earlier, even as 3 decades in accounting and finance, I don't know everything. You can't know everything. You need support. You need support. You need community around you to be able to share with you about all the different amazing key things that money can do. But again, it's a tool there to support you. And I think that's such an incredible key. So yes, just being able to start that healing part and then to where you're thriving, that's how I love to walk women through.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same thing as far as when I work with women who a lot of times they really believe that it is their health. And when they say health, they really mean when a woman says, I just want to feel healthy, I'm going to go with 90% of the time she's saying, I just want to be thinner. Right. And they really believe that the smaller version of them is where that happiness is going to be found. You know, so it's for my work, it is more of that internal dialogue. It is healing the heart of who you are and recognizing how honestly cruel you were to yourself for a very long time, right? And then recognizing that when you love yourself more, your body starts to change because your heart and your choices changed. So I love seeing that, you know, there's that connection with not just health, but wealth as well.
Oh, absolutely. My first degree actually is in health and sports sciences. So I love to bring it back because I was the same way. Generationally, my mother, my grandmother, a man's not going to love you unless you have your hair done. Your lipstick on. Do you have your lipstick on? That was a nonstop. You have to have your appearance perfectly at all times. And, you know, your dress, your clothing, your everything, your eyebrows, everything was so big on your outward appearance. And no one taught us about the inner worth. And that's what I think it's so important that is a part of your wealth.
Yeah.
It's not just your net worth. It's a paper. It's your self-worth.
I love that distinction, net worth versus self-worth. Beautiful. So Tricia, if anybody were looking to work with you on their money mindset, on the tools that they may need to accelerate their journey, how could they find you and what types of services do you offer?
And they can find me at www.triciadaniel, and that's TRICIADANIEL.com. And on there have all sorts of free resources about how money works, just to be able to watch something that teaches you those basics. So there's free financial education resources on there. And I also do have a community called expandingtoenough.com, where women can come in and have more that kind of holistic financial services, about learning about their life insurance and other different products to help them get back on their feet. But first, starting with that feeling that they are enough and they are expanding to the enough that they were designed to be.
Amazing. I love it. Tricia, obviously I'm going to place everything that you mentioned in the show notes so people can just click and find you easily. But I cannot let you go without the question of the hour. Okay, in the Minding Mind podcast, Minding Mind community, we know that everything that was within us, that God gave us, that put in our hearts is ours. The stories, the insecurities, the doubts, the self-sabotage, that's not even ours. We're walking around carrying stories that don't even belong to us. So Minding Mind is all about being intuitive, being instinctual, having unshakable self-trust. So the question is, how do you think minding yours, learning to live life your way, impacts the legacy that you'll leave?
It impacts the legacy I leave because I'm being authentically me. Because when I was walking in somebody else's shoes that they gave me to walk in, those weren't mine. And I feel like by putting on my own shoes and walking in my own steps, discovering who I am, my gift, I'm changing not just a legacy for me, but for other women to realize that they can put on their own shoes, their own heels, their own platforms, their own flip flops, because it's so important to walk in your own shoes because you were designed specifically for those shoes to stomp the ground, to break it up, to make your own path, to climb your own mountain. They were specifically designed for you that nobody else has ever had or will ever have. So I think it's important, especially for legacy. It's not just for our families. Using our voices and walking in those own shoes are for many other women to come. You're just literally stepping the first step on that path.
Oh, I love that. I love, and when you said stomp the ground, I felt myself sit up a little bit taller, like, yes, do it. Let's do it. Yes. I love that. Tricia, thank you so much for coming on today and blessing us with all your money mindset and self-love, because it radiates from you. I want to thank everyone else for joining us both today and tuning into another episode of Minding Mind. Remember, if this episode resonated with you, I'm going to ask you to please comment, rate, review the podcast. Your feedback helps me grow. And until next time, go live your life on your terms and mind your business. We will catch you in the next episode.